Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 14, three modes of material nature. Text number 21. Karlingatarin guna etam iti atito bhavati prabhao kimachara kata chatam tringuna ati vartate. Arjuna vacha Kargina lingas tringuna etam Itito bhavati bravo himacha kata jaitam tringuna ativartante. Word for word. Arjuna vacha. Arjuna said, Kai, by which, Lingai, symptoms, Trin, three, Gunam, qualities, Etan, all these, Atita, having transcended, Bhavati, is, Prabho, O my Lord, Kim, what? Achara, behavior. Katam, how. Cha, also. Etan, these. Trin, three. Gunam, qualities. Tivartante, transcends. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna inquired, My dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature? Purport. In this verse, Arjuna's questions are very appropriate. He wants to know the symptoms of a person who has already transcended the material modes. His first inquiries of the symptoms of such a transcendental person. How can one understand that he's already transcended the influence of the modes of material nature? Second question asks how he lives and what his activities are, and are they regulated or non-regulated? Then Arjuna inquires of the means by which he can attain a transcendental nature. That is very important. Unless one knows the direct means by which one can be situated always transcendentally, there is no possibility of showing the symptoms. So all these questions put by Arjuna are very important, and the Lord answers them. Shall I read the next verse? Read the next verse. Text 22 to 25. The Supreme Personality of God said, O son of Pandu, He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering, undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remain neutral, transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self, and regards alike happiness and distress, looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, a piece of gold, with an equal eye, who is equal toward desirable and undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who renounces all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. Purport. Arjuna submitted 3 different questions, and the Lord answered them one after another. In these verses, first, Krishna first indicates that a person transcendently situated has no enemy, has no envy, and does not hanker for anything. When living entity stays in this material world, embodied by a material body, it's to be understood that he's under the control of one of the 3 modes of nature. When he's actually out of the body, then he's out of the clutches of material modes of nature. As long as he's not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in devotional service to the Lord, so his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. When one is conscious of the material body, he acts only for sense gratification. When one transcends the consciousness to Krishna, when one transfers the consciousness to Krishna, sense gratification automatically stops. One does not need this material body. He does not need to accept the dictations of the material body. The qualities of material modes in the body will act, but a spirit soul, the self, is aloof from such activities. He does not become aloof. How does he become aloof? He does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. Thus, translated, situated, the devotee becomes automatically free. He need not try to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature. The next question concerned the dealing of a transcendently situated person. A materially situated person is affected by so-called honor and dishonor offered to the body, but the transcendently situated person is not affected by such false honor and dishonor. He performs his duties in Krishna consciousness and does not mind whether man honors or dishonors him. He accepts things that are favorable for his duty in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, he has no necessity of anything material, either a stone or gold. He takes everyone as his dear friend who helps him in his execution of Krishna consciousness, does not hate his so-called enemy. He's equally disposed and sees everything on an equal level because he knows perfectly well that it has nothing to do with the material existence. Social and political issues do not affect him because he knows the situation of temporary upheaval and disturbances. He does not attempt anything for his own sake. He can attempt anything for Krishna, but for his personal self, he does not attempt anything. By such behavior, one becomes automatically transcendently situated. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Dhamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasarni Namaste Shushunyavari Bhaskacharya Sastani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to 3 modes? What is his behavior? How does he transcend the modes of nature? We have a big attendance tonight. Hope everyone can fit in the door. So this is chapter 14, Three Modes of Material Nature, and verses 19 through 27 talks about how to transcending the modes of material nature. This is the second time that Arjuna is asking the same type of question. In the second chapter, Arjuna asks the same question. The second chapter is the contents of the Gita summarized. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk?" The Supreme Personality God said, "O Prita, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from material mental concoction, whose mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in himself alone, then he's said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or later when there's happiness, who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil may be obtained, neither praises it nor despises it. It is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw his senses from the sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagement, by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. The senses are so strong and impious, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So this is the question by Arjuna. He's asking the same question again, but here the Lord answers the question in a different way. So, three questions. One, how we can understand one who's transcendently situated, who's transcendental to the modes. Two, what are his behavior, and how to transcend the modes of material nature. So, some of these facts are, some of these qualities are mentioned here. Some of them are internal and some are external. So, you can't understand the mind of a pure devotee. But we have different examples of devotees who were beyond the modes of material nature. One was Maharaj Parikshit. he heard the Bhagavatam for 7 days without drinking, eating or sleeping, drinking water, eating or sleeping. And after 7 days, when it was time for his imminent death, the snake bird came. But Sukadeva Goswami told him that at that time you will no longer have any connection with your material body, and you won't even know that the snake bird has bitten you. So, after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami, he was washed off of all material contamination, and he attained the perfection of life, went back home, back to Godhead. Today's the disappearance of Rupa Goswami. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami had boatloads of gold and silver. But when they met Mahaprabhu and decided to retire from family life, retire from government service, actually they're Nityasiddha, eternal associates of the Lord, but somehow they were forced into government service, and they even changed their names and changed their dress and looked like Muslims. But they never were out of Krishna consciousness. They were never contaminated by the bad association, and so prematurely they were able to retire from the government service. So one time Sanatana Goswami, one man heard that Sanatana Goswami had a touchstone. Touchstone is a stone that you touch it to anything, it turns to gold. So for most people, it would be very wonderful. They'd be very happy to have a touchstone. So one man went to Sanatana Goswami and said, what's the most valuable thing you have? I hear you have a touchstone. So Sanatana Goswami said, yes, it's over there in the garbage bin. So you can have it. So the man took the touchstone and went away. And he was very happy to have gold. But then he was thinking, if this is the most valuable thing that Sanatana Goswami has, why was he keeping it in the dustbin? So he went back to Sanatana Goswami and said, if this is the most valuable thing you have, why are you keeping it in the dustbin? So Sanatana Goswami said, well, if you want the most valuable thing I have, then throw away the touchstone. So the man did that, and he said the most valuable thing was chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One time, Mukunda used to sing for Lord Chaitanya, told Radha Pandit that I want you to meet a saintly person, a Mahabhagavat. So he took Radha Pandit to meet Pundarik Vijayanidhi. At that time, Pundarik Vijayanidhi was looking like a completely materialistic person. He had silk bed sheets, he had spittoons. He had his hair was very nicely combed. He had very nice clothing. He had all the symptoms of a materialistic person. So Gadadhar Pandit was a little bewildered, thinking, how can this be Bhagavad? How can this be a saintly person? So then Mukunda recited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, how Krishna delivered Putana. And then Pundarik Vidyanidhi, when he heard this verse, he went into ecstasy, and he was uncontrollably broke everything, tore his clothes, everything, and was in complete exhibited all the ecstatic symptoms of Mahabhagavat. Then Gadadhar Pandit could understand that he actually was a Mahabhagavat, but he was pretending to be a materialist. So this is an example of how you can't understand the internal mood of a devotee. So then Gadadhar Pandit felt that he had offended Pundarik Vidyanidhi, so went back and asked him for initiation. So how to understand a transcendentally situated person. It says he has no enemies, he does not hanker for anything. So the devotee has no enemies. He's equal poles, happiness, distress, pain, pleasure. But when they were trying to get the Juhu property, Mr. N they gave a down payment, and then wanted the deed for the land. And Mr. N was trying to cheat the devotees. He already pulled this trick once before, cheated someone else. He took his money and made all kinds of trouble, and then said the land was still his. But Prabhupada went to him and said, well, just give us back our money and we'll go away. He said, no, I can't do that. It's my land. So Prabhupada was determined to get that land, and not for sense gratification, to build a nice temple for Krishna, Juhu temple. And that temple today, most popular temple in Mumbai, and Janmashtami is coming up. On Janmashtami, I don't know how many lakhs of people. They keep the temple open all day and all night, and there's lakhs and lakhs of people lined up to take darshan of Radha Rasavihari for at least 2 kilometers all day and all night. So Prabhupada didn't give up the fight, and he prayed to Lord Nrsingadev that Mr. N would die. And it happened. He had a heart attack and he died. And then we got the land. So you could say Prabhupada wasn't equal poles in that situation. But for Krishna, a devotee does anything. But for his own sense gratification, he doesn't. Materialistic people, they live to eat, but a devotee eats to live. So, the difference. And a devotee sleeps, but he only sleeps what is required. And mating and defending, the devotee also does this in a Krishna conscious way. So person who's transcendently situated, right, was like Madhavendra Puri. He was a great devotee. He was empowered by Lord Chaitanya, the first one to introduce the Madhurya Bhav, the love between Radha and Krishna. And Madhavendra Puri was an elderly man, and he never asked anyone for prasadam, food. Whatever came on its own accord, he would accept. And if he didn't get anything, he would fast. That's pretty detached. And brahmachari life, the brahmachari is supposed to go out and beg all day for the spiritual master, give everything to the spiritual master, and when the spiritual master calls him, he can to take prasadam. He takes his prasadam. If the spiritual master doesn't call him or forgets to call him, he fasts that day. But that rarely happens. But nowadays, that's not our standard. If we can't get prasadam, then we'll go to Govinda's restaurant or go across the street and buy something. But anyway, even if one's doing madhukari, if he doesn't get anything that day, he can make other arrangements to eat. So we don't describe that one unnecessarily fasts. But devotee, therefore, one who's transcendently situated. He, in the beginning of the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, Triguna Vishaveda, Mr. Guna Vajarjuna, that you should become transcendental to the modes of material nature. The 6 Goswamis were perfect examples. They conquered over eating, sleeping. They only slept 1.5 hours a day. They ate very little. They ate dried chickpeas and fried chickpeas and dry bread. Even Raghunatha Swami, he would take 1 cup of chach every other day. It wasn't artificial. They did that because Bhagavad-Gita says, when you have a higher taste, Vishaya vinivartante nirarasya deina rasa rajam rasopi asya pramdisar visvar nivartante. The body soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagement, by experiencing a higher taste, he's fixed in consciousness. So one may ask, how is it that devotees come to the Krishna conscious movement and they immediately start to follow the 4 regulated principles? So the answer is that they get a higher taste from chanting the holy name and following all the rules and regulations. When one becomes a devotee, he does things that he would not ordinarily do, and he doesn't do things that he would ordinarily do. So devotees rise early in the morning, which no one in the material world does, unless they have to go to work. So we get up at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, come to Mangalartik. This is a little difficult in the beginning. But as we get a higher taste, we like it, so we do it voluntarily, spontaneously. But the materialistic people, they don't like our Mangalartik, especially if we're in a residential area and it's too noisy. So they may complain to the police, we have trouble. So we have to be careful with that. Because materialistic people, remember they say what is night for the introspective state is daytime for the materialistic person. So they stay up till, 10, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So they want to sleep, and we're up at, we take rest early and get up early. Early bed, early to rise, make a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So that was, Prabhupada said, if everyone should come to Mangal Artik. If you're too sick to come to Mangal Artik, then you should fast that day. So it's important that devotees follow the sadhana, we're practicing sadhana bhakti. Well, one is on the transcendental platform, he doesn't have to follow any sadhana because he has attained the goal. He has love for Krishna. But still, he continues to follow the program just to set a good example. When they went to Kumbh Mela one year, I'm not sure, I think it was in 1971 or 72, anyway, they went to Kumbh Mela, and devotees weren't getting up for Mangal Artik because it was too cold. No one wanted to get out of their sleeping bag. So Prabhupada was chastised everyone. The next day, he personally got up, took a cold bath, and went to Mangal Artik. And so everyone started coming to Mangal Artik. And in all Prabhupada's letters to the devotees all over the world, he would always encourage them to maintain a very strict morning program. Mangal Artik, Tulsi Puja, Japa, Guru Puja, class, all these things were introduced by Prabhupada because it's necessary for purification. Deity worship is not the Yuga Dharma. That was the Yuga Dharma and Dwapara Yuga. But we do deity worship so the devotees can remain purified, so they can go out and preach and distribute books without getting contaminated by the modes of nature. So this is the devotee. It says the devotee, Arjuna wants to know what is the behavior of the devotee. And Prabhupada showed the behavior of the devotee. In Nectar Devotion, it gives the symptoms. One who has the characteristics of one who's actually developed ecstatic love for Krishna. He's always anxious to utilize his time in devotional service to the Lord. He does not like to be idle. He wants service always, 24 hours a day, without deviation. So Prabhupada was also like that. When they went to Australia, there for Rath Yatra, they came too early. They weren't ready. So they took Prabhupada to another city. They thought he should rest a while. But as soon as he got to that city, he told the devotees, now you bring all the important people here so I can preach to them. He didn't want to be idle. We see in Prabhupada's life, he would, from morning to night, 24 hours. He'd sleep 2 hours in the daytime, 2 hours at night. The rest of the time, he was engaged in Krishna's service, translating in the night, morning walk, Bhagavatam class, darshan, all these things, every day, without deviation. And he led a very regulated life. It's important to always live a regulated life. We don't, even if I'm feeling hungry, I shouldn't eat just because I'm hungry. But we should only eat at regulated times. Breakfast time, 9 o'clock, lunch time, 2, 3 o'clock, something at night. But otherwise, we shouldn't have snacks in eating between meals, unless you have some disease like or some medical problem. People have diabetes. They have to eat more frequently to keep their health. Otherwise, the devotees should not eat on be unregulated. Of course, when they're traveling or something, it may be different. But normally, we only should eat prasadam at the regulated time. So the way he doesn't waste his time and utilizes all his energy for the service of the Lord. He's always reserved and perseverant. He's always detached from all material attraction. So Narayan Maharaj told a story. One king said to Krishna, I want you to give darshan to all my citizens. So Krishna said, how's that possible? The king, Krishna said, okay, you bring all your citizens to one hill and I'll stand on top of that hill. So the king and queen and all the citizens went to see Krishna on top of the hill. But first they passed by one hill which had copper coins. So some of the citizens took the copper coins and went away. Then they went by another hill which had silver coins, and some of the citizens took the silver coins and went away. Then they went by another hill that had gold coins, and the rest of the citizens took the gold and went away. So then it was just the king and the queen, and then they came to a hill that had diamonds on it, and the queen went for the diamonds. And so only the king was left to take darshan of the Lord. So none of the other people were detached as the king was. So this is very important, that detachment. The whole purpose of Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, is to teach people how to become detached from family, friends, and so on. Maharaj Rishabdev, he retired from family life. He retired, became an avadut, and completely was detached and completely out of the bodily conception of life. He became an avaduta. When he traveled all over the world, he didn't wear any clothes, he didn't clean himself. People would spit at him, throw stones at him, beat him, call him bad names. He was not affected in any way. Completely detached. Also, Bharat Maharaj became Jad Bharat, and he was also completely detached from any external energy or external circumstances. Even they caught Jad Bharat, some dacoits, and were going to sacrifice him to the goddess Kali. So they washed his body, and you're supposed to sacrifice a man when he's wet. So they did all that, and they were about to cut off his head. He didn't protest because he was detached. But the goddess Kali, she couldn't tolerate that her devotee, the devotee of the Lord, was going to be killed. So she came out of the deity and killed all the dacoits. And also, in the 11th canto, the Avanti Brahmin, he was a rich man. He was a greedy man. He was an angry man. He was a miserly man. But somehow he lost his money. He lost his everything, and his sense of renunciation came in his heart, and he decided to take sannyas. So when he took sannyas, he didn't have anything. He just traveled all over the world, and whatever happened to him, he took it as the will of providence. It's just whatever happened to him. Sometimes people would beat him. Sometimes they would take his clothes. Sometimes they'd pass water on his prasadam. Sometimes they would tie him up. They do so many things to him, but he acted like a dull, dumb man and didn't speak to anyone. He never protested in any circumstance. He saw it all as the will of providence, and whatever he was destined to, whatever happiness or stress was destined to come to him, he accepted that. Nite nu kampam sushimano. Lord Brahma is praying that the devotee thinks whatever suffering he has is due to his past life, and he offers obeisances to the Lord, and that way he attains the mercy of the Lord, which becomes his rightful claim, Dayabhak. So the pure devotee does not long for any material respect in return for his activities. He's always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. He's always very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. He is very much attached to chanting the holy names of the Lord. He's always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. He's very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed, Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka. So they asked Prabhupada, the people saw Prabhupada riding in a big car, a Rolls Royce car or one, and say, well, your people are supposed to be detached, so why are you riding in such a big car? The people were envious. The Prabhupada said, this car is made of iron, made of steel and plastic and iron. It's not a suitable car for the spiritual master. The spiritual master should have a gold car. The Prabhupada didn't care what kind of car they got for him. But he accepted this, because his loving devotees, they wanted to give him the best thing, so he just accepted it. But he didn't demand it. That I have a big car, that I get a big house, have this or that. He didn't demand anything. But Prabhupada was always attached to chanting the holy name. Goloke Premadana Harinam Sankirtana. So, beginning the movement, he started in a humble way. He would go to Thompson Square Park and chant Hare Krishna mantra for 3 hours every day. And he was over in his 70s. Not so easy to chant for 3 hours every day. But he'd do that, and then people started to join him and assist him in his movement. Then he initiated some people and told them to chant 64 rounds, because that was the standard in the Gaudiya Math. Anyone who lived in the Math, in the temple, was required to chant 64 rounds. So the Prabhupada asked his disciples to chant 64 rounds, but they said, no, we can't do that, too difficult. They said, you chant 32 rounds, and they said, no, that's too difficult. Then he said, 16 rounds, no less. And if you can't chant 16 rounds one day, then the next day, you shouldn't eat or sleep till you make up your rounds and chant 16 rounds that day. So he wasn't lenient. People were sleeping 4 hours, getting the temple ready for Prabhupada's arrival. And Prabhupada asked them, are you chanting your rounds? And they said, no, we don't have time. And Prabhupada said, you have to chant 16 rounds, sleep less. Even though they're only sleeping 4 hours, he told them, sleep less, but you must finish 16 rounds every day. Because this was like the medicine. When you have a disease, you go to the doctor, and he gives the medicine. But if you don't take the medicine, or if you take it whimsically, it won't have effect. But if you take the medicine as recommended by the doctor, then your disease will go away. So the material disease, we're all in the material disease, influenced by the three modes of material nature, mainly passion and ignorance. So the medicine for curing this material disease is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Prabhupada gave that, initiated people into chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And we see when we chant in Kirtan, people come to the temple and start to dance with us. And people who don't practice any sadhana, don't follow any rules or regulations, but somehow their feet start dancing and they get into the kirtan. And this is explained because they had some punya from their past pious credits from previous life. Even we see children are dancing, old people are dancing, everyone is dancing in the kirtan, and it's because they had some pious credits from previous life. So the pure devotee, when he chants, everyone became ecstatic. When everyone was in the association of Prabhupada, everyone was in feeling ecstasy. and you can understand that he wasn't an ordinary man, and that everything he did was for the pleasure of his Guru Maharaj, for the pleasure of Krishna. So this is behavior of a pure devotee. And there are many examples like Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj and the four Kumaras and Narada Muni. They all set the example of the devotees, how to behave properly. And the last question, Arjuna wants to know how to transcend the modes of material nature. So, there's three kinds of transcendentalists: the bhaktis, the yogis, and the jnanis. But only the devotees can actually be happy and transcend the modes of material nature. It says, someone may say, aside from devotees who always seek shelter of lotus feet, the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O light-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerity and penance to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, but their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. Aru Kachena Padam Padam Tata. So, the yogis, jnanis, they may rise up to the transcendental platform, even attain Brahman realization, but it's not a permanent situation. But the devotees who develop their love for Krishna, who practice Raganuga Bhakti, like Rupa Goswami, the six Goswamis, they were practicing Raganuga Bhakti, which means they were completely free from any material contamination. So to come free from the material contamination, we have to follow the 9 processes of Krishna consciousness, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And we have to follow strictly the rules and regulations: no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And also there's 64 items in the Nectar Devotion that are listed that we should follow. Most of them we follow every day. In this way, the modes of nature are still there. Pure devotee, like Prabhupada, he had a material body, so the modes were acting on his body, but he was not affected by the modes of nature. Even up to the time of death, he wasn't taking any painkillers, he wasn't in the hospital with tubes in his body. He was aloof from everything, from the bodily conception of life. And there are other examples. Dronacharya agreed to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra as long as he didn't hear some bad news. So Krishna told Yudhisthira Maharaj to say to Dronacharya that Ashwatthama is dead. So Ashwatthama was the son of Dronacharya. So Yudhisthira Maharaj never told a lie in his life, so he hesitated to carry out that order. But then Bhima came and killed an elephant named Ashwatthama. And then Yudhisthira called out to Dronacharya, Ashwatthama is dead, the elephant. So then Dronacharya stopped fighting, and he sat down in meditation, and he became detached from his body, and then they cut off his head, but he was already detached from his body. So there's different people like that. Bhishma Dev, he was also detached from his body. He was on the bed of arrows. He had no blood in his body, but he had the benediction that he could leave his body whenever he desired to. So he instructed Maharaj Yudhisthira, and at the right time he left his body. So this process, devotional service, is to keep us at least in the mode of goodness, so we won't be affected by the lower modes. Sometimes we may be and sometimes we may not be, but we should always be checking ourselves to see what position we're in, which mode is affecting us, and not be influenced by it so much. If the modes are giving us trouble, then we should chant more, chant incessantly, and they have to be chanted without offenses. If you can chant without offenses, then you will get the desired result, and ecstatic symptoms will be there. And one last example, Haridas Thakur was tested by 2 times. One time a prostitute was sent to him and he was unaffected, and the second time Mahadevi herself came to him and he wasn't affected. So one time there was a snake charmer, and he was doing a little dance and singing some songs. So Haridas Thakur came along and started dancing and exhibiting ecstatic symptoms. So the snake charmer stepped aside and watched Haridas Thakur while he did his performance of exhibiting ecstatic love of Krishna. Then Haridas Thakur went away, and another man, who was a Brahmin, who was envious of Haridas Thakur, said, "Why is this man getting so much respect? I will do the same thing." So this man started to imitate Haridas Thakur and fell down on the ground like he was in ecstasy. But the snake charmer started to beat him severely until the man ran away in pain. So they asked the snake charmer, why you let Haridas Thakur dance, but you didn't let this other man dance? And he said, because I could understand that Haridas Thakur was a genuine devotee, and he wasn't making a show, and this other man was a cheater. So in this way, we can see by the symptoms, by the activities, by the behavior, who's a devotee and who's not a devotee. And by practicing Krishna consciousness, we also want to become a devotee, get free from the modes and material nature. Brahmadisvar nivartante. By experiencing a higher taste, one can give up the lower tastes. And that means we should try to do everything with great care and attention, and try to stand at least 16 rounds attentively every day. But if we have extra time, we should chant more and more, and always be chanting. But we can't be chanting when we're sleeping. But one man came to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, I see you say you're chanting all the time, but I see you doing so many other things. How is it you're chanting all the time? And Prabhupada said, you just put your ear on my back. So the man put his ear on his back, and he heard Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Do you have any comments? Question, man?
Hare Krishna. Oh, you are speaking about devotees when they used to beg for the spiritual master and give to spiritual master, and the spiritual master would forget to call him. They used to fast. So in this time it is very difficult, and the spiritual master is not in that much context with his disciples, and his disciples we are acting on behalf of the other world Vedas. So how do we understand that what we are doing is correct or not?
How do you understand what?
How can we understand now, because the spiritual master is not in contact with us, we have our God brothers, they are in contact with us, and whatever we are doing, the activities, what activities we are doing, spiritual activities, whether we are doing correct in a right way or a wrong way, we do not know. So how this we can understand?
Anyway, we just follow the temple authorities, temple president, the bhakti leader, whoever is your authority, you should follow their instructions. They're following the instructions of the GBC. GBC is following the instructions of Prabhupada. So if everyone's in line, if you can't directly in direct contact with your spiritual master, you should follow the temple president, temple devotees. That's all. If you have a problem, you go to the temple president or the senior devotees, because you can't always approach your spiritual master. Because it says spiritual master should not take too many disciples, but for spreading Krishna consciousness, there are a lot of spiritual masters have thousands of disciples, and he can't cater to all their problems. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mantraj Bhagavad-Gita ki jai.